Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Today, I want to talk guns. In fact, I want to answer a question from a viewer about guns. This viewer asked me, what do I think are the most iconic handguns ever made? And I thought, wow, that's a great topic. In fact, I've probably already done this topic before. But one of the great things of getting old and forgetting things is oftentimes things you've already done before become new experiences, because it's like just starting all over again from scratch because I don't remember the last time I did it or what I said. So I'm going to go ahead and do it, but I don't want to just do it as one list. I'm actually going to break it up to make it easier on me. I'm going to do what do I think are the top 5 iconic semi-automatic handguns ever made, and I'm going to do what do I think are the top 5 iconic revolvers ever made. I'll do that list tomorrow. Today I'll start with the semi-autos. And I'm going to start off here at number 5. Number 5 is going to be a gun a lot of people are going to say it hasn't been around long enough to be iconic because it didn't come into play until the 80s. But, you know, I have underwear that's that old. But I still think this gun is iconic. And it is the Glock Model 17 Gen 1. Now, when this gun first came around and first came into popular use, it was known as the P08 overseas. But when it came to America, it was insanely popular. Mainly because Glock was a marketing genius. You know, they let movies use it for free. They didn't charge them. They provided them free to police stations and police departments all over the country. They really knew how to get their gun into the market and get it to catch on. And it's a gun that everyone knows. So I would definitely say that qualifies as iconic. It's a good gun. It's really reliable. It's simple. And like I said, who doesn't notice a Glock? Who doesn't know what it is when they see it? In fact, some people think every polymer gun's a Glock. That's how much of the market it had for so long. So this is a gun everyone knows. Every Glock that's come since this gun is pretty much a household name. And you know, they haven't changed all that much since they first came out. When you look at the Gen 1s to the ones now, the Gen 5s, they're still very similar. They haven't had to change. They were a good, basic, simple gun, and they've stayed that pretty much with just a few cosmetic changes and a few accessory changes like rails, etc. But this gun has been popular since day one, and now I think it definitely is an iconic gun because everybody wants a Glock, or at least most people want a Glock, and everyone knows what they are. So that's number 5 on the list, the Glock. All right, the next gun on the list is a gun that's not only iconic in gun circles, but it's actually kind of iconic in sci-fi circles too, because it is the C96 Mauser, better known as the broom handle Mauser. This gun is definitely iconic. Who hasn't seen these before? Who doesn't recognize them when they see them? Even if you don't know them by name, you know them. And they have played a huge place in history. They've been movies, books, etc. They're just very popular guns. They have been used, like I said, in different genres. But the most popular one you've ever seen, the one probably everybody recognizes, is Han Solo's blaster. It's a broom handle Mauser with some things screwed to it. That's basically all it is. And that's one of the most iconic guns in history. So when you take that into account, and like I say, the role this gun has played in actual history and in literary history and in TV and movies, this gun, the broom handle Mauser, definitely is one of the most iconic guns in history, and that's why it's number 4 on my list. All right, next on our list is a gun that's usually associated with the bad guys. If you're like me and you grew up watching World War II movies, you always saw the bad guy with this gun. It is the Pistola Parabellum, better known as the Luger. Lugers have been around for a long time, since the 1800s. I think it was like 1898. They've been around almost as long as the Mauser we talked about a minute ago, which is just a couple of years newer than the Lugers. So they've been around for a while. And usually, like I said, in the hands of bad guys. Nazis, usually. You know, in those World War II movies. Who doesn't think of the Luger when they think of the sidearm on the SS officer, etc.? And they have that weird toggle lock short recoil system, which makes them very unique. That, you know, big body with the little tiny barrel, little tapered barrel, and that big lug thing here on top. They're very distinctive looking. I think everyone recognizes them. Now, it's a shame they're associated so much with the bad guys because they're great guns. I used to have a stainless steel Stoeger version, which I wish I still had, but they're just a very cool gun. Like I said, very much associated with the bad guys, the Nazis, but in their own right, they've been a great gun for a very long time. They're definitely iconic because I think everyone recognizes them. Like I said, even if they don't know the name, they know them when they see them. They know what they are. So that's why they're number 3 on my list, the Luger. All right, the next gun on the list is another relative newcomer. It wasn't around in the 1800s like the previous 2 guns on the list. It didn't come around till the 1970s. You know, like disco and hippies and other things. A lot of people think hippies is mostly 60. Hippies were actually mostly in the late 60s and then into the mid 70s. A lot of people don't know that, but take it from someone who lived it. That's when most of the hippies were around. The early 60s had mostly beatniks, but I'm getting off topic here. The gun came around in the mid 70s and it is the Beretta 92. Now, the most well-known is probably the Beretta 92 FS, and it is not only a gun that's well-known as being a proven gun of war, you know, a battle gun, duty gun, but it's also one of the most beautiful guns ever made. This is just a simply elegant design. The Italians know how to make sports cars and guns. That's 2 things they know how to make really nice. And this here is an example of that. The Beretta 92 FS and all the guns that have followed after that are just slightly modified. You know, they haven't changed all that much at all. They're very iconic. Everyone knows them. Now, when I was growing up, they were another gun that was often used by the bad guy. Bad guys often had, you know, a Beretta as their gun. But never stopped me from falling in love with them. Loved Berettas since the first time I saw them. Especially loved them since I first shot them. So they are definitely an iconic gun. Everyone knows a Beretta 92. Most gun people want to own a Beretta 92, and I would say most true gun people do own one. I would definitely say most gun collectors own more than one. And that's why they are number 2 on my list, the Beretta 92 series guns. All right, before I get to the number 1 gun, I wanted to leave a little mystery here. So there's, I'm sure, 2 guns everyone's thinking about right now that might be number 1. And one of them is the Walther PPK. I love Walther PPKs. I think they're one of the most underrated guns ever made, and they're still made today. So they're obviously an awesome gun, and who can forget that James Bond had one? But the PPK would have been 6 on my list. So it's not the number 1. It could have been higher on the list, but everyone puts it higher on the list. And like I said, I wanted to leave a little surprise for number 1. So PPK is not going to be on there. But like I said, I'm not saying it's not a great gun. It's just not on my list. It would have been if this was a top 6. But for right now, it's not on there. All right, now we are to the only gun that I think is more iconic than the Beretta 92. And I don't think it's going to surprise anyone. I think everyone knew it would be on the list, just where would it be? Would it be number 1 or number 2? It's a gun that was designed in 1911, and it is the M1911. It is a gun that has fought many a war, World War I, World War II, Korea, etc. So it's definitely one of the most battle-proven guns ever. It's been issued in larger numbers than most any other military handgun. It's just a gun that is great from start to finish. It's a gun that's still around now. Unlike a lot of the other guns you saw on this list, they may be iconic, but you know, other than like the newer Glocks and the Beretta, some of them just aren't made anymore. In fact, a lot of really nice old guns aren't made anymore. The 1911 has never stopped being made, has never stopped being great. Even the more modern versions, where they make them into double stacks, the 2011s, they're offsprings of the 1911s. The new versions that are in 9mm, even though I think they're an abortion, are very popular. And now they're moving into 10mm, which made 1911s relevant again. So not only are they iconic, but they're very relevant, just like, you know, the Berettas still are. So that, all that history and the fact that they've never stopped being made and they're made by so many people and they're so good and they're still relevant today, that makes it easy to put this gun at the top of my list, the number 1 most iconic semi-automatic handgun ever, the M1911. All right, everybody, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I do appreciate you coming, and I hope you come back again tomorrow. Until then, I just want to remind everyone out there to always carry and stay safe until I see you again. Different that really peculiar mechanism it used, that toggle lock blowback system. Yeah. These guns are just really, really associated with the bad guys in those old war movies. Fuck! Had a Luger. I mean, these have been around for a long time. I have to look at my list here to say, but... All right, the next gun on the list is relatively... It stood the test of time. It's still around today. I didn't start that. The semi-automatics. And we're going to start here in number 1 position. No, not number 1 position. Number 5 position. God fucking damn.